Okay, my first quick hit for tonight is some economic terms, and we need to talk about GDP because it's something politicians talk about all the time, something economists talk about, and I think it's important that you know how it breaks down and why it matters. So it's gross domestic product, which is the total revenue, essentially, for the United States in a year, or whatever country or state we're looking at. And here's what it's comprised of. C, G, I, and NX. C is consumer spending, so that is retail spending from you and I. G is government spending, and this is actually spending, not Social Security, so I'll talk about that. I is investments, and these are capital investments by you in a house or a business. And then NX is net exports, so we both import and export products, and so depending on whether we import or export more or less determines our net exports. So consumer spending, again, this is retail. So we're not adding up all of the individual wholesalers. There is a calculation for GDP, by the way, which is based on all these different incomes, and it comes out to the same number. So we can do it in a variety of different ways. This is the easy one. So consumer spending, again, that's you and I, retail, businesses, and this is 60 to 70% of total GDP. That's why consumer spending is so important here in the United States. It's why when COVID hit and we shut things down, it was so problematic and GDP crashed. G is government, and this is government spending. And again, this means not Social Security, for example. That's terribly written. There's an N and a G in there. So it's not Social Security. It's not transfers like that. It's government spending for employees or when they purchase things. So very specifically. I for investments. This is an important one to understand. So this is not big X on it or star on it. It is not things like 401ks and stocks. Okay, those are future investments, but they don't buy anything right now, so they're not part of it. Instead, it is investments like a business builds a new building, or you build a new house, or a business buys a piece of equipment. So it is that kind of investment in growth of a business or a product or a service. And then NX, net exports. And again, this is important to understand because it's been in the news a fair amount. It was a big hoopla for Donald Trump, is we import more than we export. So our net exports are actually negative, which means that this number right here is actually a minus for the most part. And I'll talk about net exports and importing and stuff like that and tariffs and how that gets affected. But here's what GDP is, and this is the main factor is consumer spending, and that's so important.